At the front of my tractor, first thing I'm going to look at is all my lights and reflectors. They're securely mounted, not cracked. No signs of moisture, nor the proper color, amber, clear. The lights I would check up here would be my clearance lights, my low beams, my high beams, my left turn, my right turn, and my four-way flasher. And then you're going to make sure my truck's not leaning to one side. It could be a tire problem or a suspension problem. Lastly, up underneath, I'm going to look for fresh fluids. Could be coolant, power steering, diesel. I'm going to go to the passenger side. Okay, the only thing I'm checking over here, don't get confused, this is the AC compressor here. Here's the alternator. The fan, the shroud gives it away. The alternator is securely mounted. No loose or missing parts. The electrical connections are secure, and it's belt driven. So here's a good point. I can check all my belts. They're not frayed, loose, or torn. There's no loose fibers, and it has no more than a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch deflection. Let's go to the other side. Oddball out is my oil. Here's where I fill it. Here's where I check it. How I would check it is pull out the dipstick, wipe it off, reinsert it, pull it back out, make sure it's above the fill line and below the full line. My coolant reservoir is right here. It's securely mounted. Filled to the proper level. Cap is present. It's not leaking. My coolant hoses are securely mounted at both ends with no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks, which leads right here to the water pump. The water pump is securely mounted. There are no loose or missing parts. It is not leaking, and it is also belt driven. I would check the belts on this side just like I did the other side. Here's my power steering reservoir. It is securely mounted. It is filled to the proper level. The cap is present. There are no leaks. All my power steering hoses are securely mounted at both ends with no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks, which leads back here. I'll follow this hose. My power steering pump is securely mounted. No loose or missing parts. Okay, it is not leaking. It is gear driven. My gear driven system is all right here. It's securely mounted. Not damaged, working properly, and not leaking. On behind the power steering pump is my air compressor. My air compressor is securely mounted. No loose or missing parts. No audible leaks, and it is also gear driven. Okay, my steering gearbox is securely mounted. There's no loose or missing hardware. It's not leaking, but I want to point out a defect. It is leaking a little bit. I'm going to keep an eye on the power steering fluid level. There's nothing that's going to keep me off the road. My steering linkage. So here'll be my steering shaft, my pivot arm, my drive link, my upper lower steering arms, and my knuckle. All I have to do is stay steering linkage. Securely mounted, not cracked or worn. No loose joints, and it's properly greased. And it's locked in by the castle nut and cotter pins. Alright, now I'm going on suspension. My spring mounts, I've got one in the front, one in the back. Securely mounted, no loose or missing hardware. And on that back one, I'm looking for damaged bushings. My leaf spring is not shifted, missing, or cracked. My stack and U-bolts are securely mounted with no loose or missing hardware. My shock absorber is securely mounted on top and bottom and not leaking. My brake hoses are securely mounted at both ends with no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or audible leaks. My brake chamber is securely mounted. No loose or missing clamps, no hose cracks or dents, and no audible leaks. My slack adjuster and push rod is securely mounted. No loose or missing hardware. It appears to be at a 90-degree angle. How I would check it is chopped by wheels. Release the tractor brake and pull on it. It should be no more than an inch. On the inside of my tire are my drums and my linings. My drums show no signs of bluing, securely mounted, and my linings are not more dangerously thin. Now I'm going to check the overall condition of my matching steer tires. Evenly worn, no unvented objects, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or audible leaks, and no less than 436 of tread vest. They're proper repeated to my rim. Okay, my rim, there's no holes, cracks, or dents, or aftermarket welts. My lug nuts are all present and secure with no rust trails or distorted bolt holes. My hub seal is securely mounted, filled to the proper level. It's not leaking, and the cap is present. Lastly is my valve stem, securely mounted. cap is present. There are no audible leaks, and I would check the tire pressure with a tire gauge. All right. So first I'm going to check my marker light and reflector. It is securely mounted, not cracked, and no signs of moisture, the proper color amber. The lights I would check over here would be my left turn signal and my four-way flashers. My mirror bracket is securely mounted with no loose or missing hardware. Flat convex mirror, clean and not broken. My batteries are securely mounted. The electrical connections are secure. There's no signs of corrosion. The door opens properly. The door hinges are securely mounted with no loose or missing hardware. The door closes properly. My steps, my catwalk, securely mounted and free to breathe. My depth tank, securely mounted. It's not leaking. The cap is tight and present. It needs to be above an eighth of the tank for operation. My fuel tank and straps, securely mounted. The fuel tank is not leaking. The cap is tight and present. I need to make sure there's a seal and a chain in there. My stack and exhaust, which is it's a grass burner. You guys can see it down there if you want to look at it. Okay. Securely mounted, no loose or missing clamps, no holes, cracks, vents, and no signs of excessive carbon soot leak. My drive shaft, securely mounted on both ends by U-joints. It's not twisted, free to breathe. My frame and my cross members, there are no bends, twists, cracks, or aftermarket welds. Go to the rear of the truck. Alright, my DOT tape is present and not peeling. Okay, all my lights and reflectors back here are securely mounted. No cracks, no signs of moisture, the proper color red. The lights I would check back here would be my tail lights, my brake lights, my left turn, my right turn, and my four-way flashers. Lastly, back here is my mud flaps, splash guards, securely mounted, and they are not ripped, torn, or dragging. Here's the switches. I'm going to work my way out. I'm going to go right to the side. First, I've got the wheel mount. One in the front, one in the back. Securely mounted, no loose or missing hardware. I have my leaf spring. It's not shifted, missing, or cracked. My stack of U-bolts is securely mounted with no loose or missing hardware. My shock absorber is securely mounted on top and bottom and not leaking. The new thing back here is I have an airbag. Securely mounted on top and bottom with no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or audible leaks. Now I'm going to look at my brake hoses. They're securely mounted at both ends with no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or audible leaks. They're connected to the brake chamber. They're securely mounted, no loose or missing clamps, no holes, cracks, or dents, and no audible leaks. Behind that is the slack adjuster and push rod, which is securely mounted. No loose or missing hardware. It appears to be at a 90-degree angle. How I would check that, and again, is chalk my wheels, release the tractor brake, and pull on it. It should be no more than an inch. On the inside of my tires, or my drums, there's no signs of bluing. They're securely mounted, and there's no dirt, oil, or grease, and my linings are not worn dangerously thin. I would then check the overall condition of my drive tires. Make sure they're evenly worn, no embedded objects, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or audible leaks, and no less than 2/32 of tread depth, and they're properly beaded to my rim. But this is a dually system. I need to make sure the rims are properly mated, no illegal spacers, free to breathe. The outside of my rim, there's no holes, cracks, or dents, or aftermarket welds. My lug nuts are all present and secure with no rust trails or distorted bolt holes. My hub seal is securely mounted, filled to the proper level. The cap is present, it's not leaking. My valve stem is securely mounted. The cap is present. There are no audible leaks, and I would check the tire pressure with a tire gauge. Next, I'm going to talk about spacing. I've got proper spacing between my landing gear, the rear of the tractor. I also have proper spacing between my bulkhead and the rear of my cab. Talking about connections. First, I'm going to talk about my electrical line. It is firmly seated and locked into place on both ends. It is not tangled with no bare exposed wires. My emergency and my service line securely mounted to the tractor. There are no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks. The glad hands are all present and secure, and the seals are present with no audible leaks. Now I'm going to talk about coupling. I've got my apron and my fifth wheel plate. They're securely mounted. There's no daylight or gap, and it's properly greased. It's locked in here by the pivot pin and the locking pins. They're secure and locked into place. My release arm and my lock jaws are secure and locked into place. They're locked around the kingpin, which shows it was not bent, shows no signs of mushrooming. It all sits on the platform and the mounting bolts, which is securely mounted. There are no cracks and no illegal welds. And it's all locked in by the slide lock, which is secure and locked into place. And there are no audible leaks from the airlines. All right, moving on to the trailer. My trailer. The clearance lights and reflectors are securely mounted, not cracked. No signs of moisture of the proper color amber. My bulkhead and sides are securely mounted. All the rivets are in place. It looks like it can carry a load. My DOT tape is present and not peeling. Needs to be 50% on the side. My landing gear, we're just going to pretend this is raised. My landing gear is securely mounted. It's fully raised. The pads are present. The handle should be in the locked position. Moving on. My marker light and reflector is securely mounted, not cracked. No signs of moisture, no the proper color amber. The lights I would check here would be my left turn and my four-way flashers. Right before I talk about the trailer axle, I'm going to talk about this. I've got my tandem release and my locking pins. They're securely mounted and they're secure and locked into place. Now I'm going to talk about suspension, brakes, and then tires. I've got my spring mounts securely mounted, no loose or missing hardware. My leaf springs are not shifted, missing, or cracked, and my stack and U-bolts securely mounted with no loose or missing hardware. I don't have shock absorbers and I don't have airbags. But something new I do have back here is my torque arm. It is securely mounted, not damaged, and working properly. I'm now going to talk about the brakes. My brake hoses are securely mounted at both ends with no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or audible leaks. My brake chamber here is securely mounted. No loose or missing clamps, no holes, cracks, or dents, and no audible leaks. My slack adjuster and push rod is securely mounted. No loose or missing hardware. It appears to be at a 90-degree angle. How I would check this is chop my trailer wheels, release my tractor brake, and pull on it. Should be no more than an inch. Lastly, I'm going to check my drums and my linings. They're securely mounted, no loose or missing hardware, no signs of bluing. There's no dirt, oil, or grease between the drums and the linings, and my linings are not worn dangerously thin. I will then check the overall condition of my trailer tires. They're evenly worn. No embedded objects, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or audible leaks. No less than 2/32 of tread depth. They're properly beaded to my rim. But again, this is a dually system. I need to make sure that my rims are properly mated. No illegal spacers and free of debris. Outside of my rim, there's no holes, cracks, or dents, or aftermarket welds. My lug nuts are all present and secure with no rust trails or distorted bolt holes. This is the hub seal back here. It's securely mounted. Filled to the proper level. Cap is present. It's not leaking. Then lastly, my valve stem is securely mounted. The cap is present. There are no audible leaks, and I would check the tire pressure with the tire gauge. Rear of the trailer. Oh, wait a minute. This has got ABS. So I need to talk about the ABS light. My ABS light is securely mounted. There's no cracks, no signs of moisture, no the proper color amber. Now the rear of the trailer. I would check all my lights and reflectors back here. Make sure they're securely mounted. They're not cracked. No moisture, another proper color red. The lights I would check back here would be my side markers and my clearance lights, my tail lights, my brake lights, my left turn, my right turn, and my four-way flashers. I would then look at my DOT tape to make sure it's present and not peeling. It needs to be 100% back here. Lastly, I'm going to look at my splash guards, mud flaps, whatever you want to call them. They're securely mounted, no loose or missing hardware. They are not ripped, torn, or dragging. Woo! That's the end of the visual inspection.
Hell yeah.
Okay.